Ladies and gentlemen, today I have a game improving AAA quality improvement for the flexible combat system. You are not going to want to sleep on this. Previously, when attacking, we would run through our animation attacks, simply playing the attack montage. And now, the new and improved setup implements motion warping, where each attack will connect with the enemy, so you can spend less time thinking about if your attack is going to hit, and more time managing your combos and the rest of your combat kit. Not only this, but you can now add an extra bit of spice to your attacks with an attack impulse, dashing your character forward during a certain point in your animation. And as always, all of this is optional and can be turned on or off with a flick of a variable. Okay, let's jump into adding this feature. A quick heads up, you will need to have implemented hit stop and combo attacks before doing this tutorial. You can find those tutorials on my channel. The first thing we want to do is to update the system on the Epic Games Marketplace and create a project. Then, when that's done, in your working project, go into project settings and enable the motion warping plugin. When that's done, open up your new FCS project file explorer and place that on the left, and your old working project and place that on the right. It's time to copy over some files. So pause the video now and copy over the files as seen on screen from the FCS project to your working project. When that's done, open up both your projects. In your working project, go into Structs, General, Animation, and into the Weapon Animation struct. We are going to change over our lunge and break block attack over to S Weapon Animation Data variable type. Then, if we go into our content folder, Data Tables, Animation, DT Attack Animations, we are then going to set the montage for these attacks which we had before. So for each weapon type, set the lunge and break block attack animation. When that's done, let's go into our content folder, blueprints, function library, and into our pass attack animation function. Do this on both our projects. We are going to copy the FCS nodes, then in our working project, delete the nodes and paste in the new ones from the FCS project and connect them all up together. Then let's go into our content folder, blueprints, components, and into the melee component. When that's open, hop into the pass animation function on both our projects. Once again, copy paste the nodes over and connect them all up. Then into our store components, pull off our line and bring in a get component by class node. Set it to attack motion warping and promote it to a variable and connect it into the line. Now into our set melee anim output function. Select our lunge and break block montage variable and change these over to S weapon animation data. Refresh our pass animation nodes if they're still following the old setup. Then pull off our lunge and break block variables and select make weapon animation data. Then connect our pass animation nodes into it. Now for our has valid lunge attack function, hop into it and break our variable and replug the animation into the is valid. Then in our attack conditions function, break our lunge and break block variables and connect the animation into the is valid. Then let's create a new function called update warp targets. Bring in our attack motion warping variable, right click it and change it over to a validated get. Pull off it and bring in an attack update warp target function. Connect it into the line, then pull the variables off the event and drop them onto the input to create the inputs. Now we're going to add this function to all our attacks. So for our light attacks, by MC light attack, bring in our update warp targets, connect it into the line, and add the inputs onto our event. When that's done, we're going to plug our lock-on assistance and attack impulse from our broken weapon combo attacks data made in the previous tutorial into our MC event. Now, we're going to do the same for heavy attacks. So just recreate it. You can see on the screen exactly how it's set up. When that's done, we're going to do our break block attack. So recreate it as it's seen on screen now. And when that's done, we're going to do the lunge attack. So just recreate it again, seen on screen now. Then let's go into our content folder, blueprints, anim notifies, melee, and open up the AN toggle attack rotate on both our projects. For notify begin, copy the FCS nodes and paste them into the working project, deleting the old nodes. Then we're going to go into override and add in a notify tick event. For this, copy paste the nodes from the FCS project and paste them in again. Then let's hop into our content folder, blueprints, components, targeting component, and selecting the class setting button at the top, we're going to add the targeting interface to the component. On the left, under interface functions, let's hop into our get locked on target and bring in our lock on and locked on target variables and connect them in. Next, let's go back into our content folder, blueprints, BP player character, and we're going to add two components. One called the motion warping component and one called the attack motion warping component. When that's done, in our event graph, into the root motion and collision event graph, we can delete our root motion variables or at least unplug them, as motion warping will now stop us from moving when we get close to an enemy. Now, time for some tedious jobs. The first thing we need to do is hop into our combat attack animations. And you will need to do this for all your light, heavy, break block, and lunge animations for each weapon. But I will just do one as an example. In our notifies, we can click the drop down and add notify track. Then right click on that channel, add notify state, and add the AN motion warping notify. Now, the position and size of this depends on you. You want the end of the notify to trigger before your character has swung his weapon. The start of the notify is when you want your character to start moving towards the enemy. You want the end of the notify to trigger before your character has swung his weapon. The end of the notify is when your character is at the desired location. The start of the notify is when you want your character to start moving towards the enemy. The longer the notify, the slower the movement, and the shorter the notify, the faster the movement, which you can use if there is a quick dash during the animation. So pause the video and do that now. While you're going through this tutorial, you could just do one weapon to test things out. When that's done, we have one more task. So if we hop into our content folder and into data tables, animations, and into DT attack animations, for each of our lunge and break block attacks, we need to set up our lock on assistance. First, tick enable lock on assistance to enable the movement. Then, as the lunge attack is the same for each weapon, you can just set the variables as seen on screen now. Then shift right click the lock on assistance, then shift left click to paste the setup variables onto each of the other weapons. For the break block, you will want to play around with the max range and distance from target, where the max range is how close you need to be to dash to the target, and distance is how far you want to be from the enemy after the dash. So for shorter range weapons, you'll want these numbers to be lower, And for two-handed and spears, you want these to be larger numbers. For now, just set one up. 550 range and 150 distance are good values. Then shift click to copy it and shift left click to paste it to the others. And last step, we need to do the same thing for our combo attacks. So into our content folder, attack combos, select a weapon and open up the combo attack data table. Shift left click to paste in our values for each attack. And we want to do this for every attack for each weapon. But again, just test this with one weapon and see how things look. And that is motion warping done. One quick note on attack impulse. If you want your attacks to have a bit of a dash, a bit more impact when attacking without a locked on target, we can enable this by ticking it on and putting a value of something like 300. And that, my friends, is everything. Read up on the documentation for more information on this, and as always, have a great day, have a great life, and I'll see you legendary people in the next one.